Hey everybody, it's Jim here. Today we're going to be checking out a Paul Reed Smith guitar that is new for 2022, and that is the S2 Custom 2408 in a finish that just became available, Bonnie Pink Cherry Burst. Now, I've never seen this in person on a non-core model, so I don't really know what to expect. Let's get it open and have a look. Okay, that is awesome. This is one of the prettiest finishes I've ever seen on a Paul Reed Smith instrument. It's got a good weight to it, and the neck is not as paper thin as the CE24, despite also being called a pattern thin. I know they vary. This one feels really good. Let's get it on the bench and have a look. Okay, first things first, the top on this is ridiculous. This has way more flame than I had anticipated, and depending on where you're looking at it based on the lighting, the color really varies. I have the light straight down on it, so I'm seeing a lot of pink here in the center, but if I stand back, it looks almost like an orangish kind of red flame. This is absolutely stunning. Onto the guitar itself here. The pickups are 8515S, the same ones that come on the SEs. Same things for obviously the electrical components. The bridge is also the same that comes on the SEs. These are all things that are compromises because the rest of the guitar is built and assembled in Stevensville, Maryland in the S2 plant. So, I mean, these are not end of the world things. I've had some good and some not so good luck with these kinds of pickups that come from the GMB factory. Hopefully this guitar, it's a good match for them. Other than that, you have these two little mini switches, and that's where things really differentiate between this and a standard Custom 24. This is new for the S2 line, specifically in 2022. Basically allows you to turn on and off without having to push or pull either of these pots and turn them into true single coil mode. Another difference between this and a regular Custom 24, whether it's an S2 or an SE, this has a three-way toggle switch as opposed to the Blade. I much prefer the three-way toggle switch personally. In the bag, you do get a bunch of Allen keys and a truss rod adjustment tool. Those are basically to adjust the bridge saddles and to tighten in the vibrato arm. Now, as far as the vibrato itself goes, let's see how it feels. That's really, really nice. Not too tight, not too loose. This thing feels just right, already out of the box from the factory. So there's not much to say as far as the Paul Reed Smith quality control of this instrument goes. It is just always impeccable. I expect nothing but the best when it comes to these guys. All right, shifting our focus to the neck here. 10-inch radius on this rosewood fingerboard. I'm not surprised. The fret ends are buttery smooth. Because of course they are, it's a PRS. Let's check if they're level. I swear, the only two companies that I can count on every single time to give me something that's this well put together are Fender Japan and Paul Reed Smith. I've just never had problems with either of those guys, and they really set the bar pretty high. Makes me kind of sad for some of the other brands that don't exactly have the consistency levels, but we have more to go over. All right, let's measure the neck thickness here. 0.85 at the first fret. That's very good. 0.92 at the 12th fret. This is a bigger neck than the CE24 was, despite both being called pattern thin. When you buy any guitar, it's only going to give you kind of a guideline because of how they're sanded down after the fact, especially with models like these. There's going to be a lot of variance. A good example of this, if you ever go to wildwoodguitars.com, you can check on a bunch of Gibsons, for example, the 60s. They're all going to have varying widths and thicknesses to them per model, and this was one of the good ones for me. This is right in my wheelhouse as far as the neck thickness goes. This is almost on par identically with the Custom Shop Telecaster. But while I have the strings off here, I'm gonna go ahead and polish these frets the same as we did for the Squire, give it a little bit of the F1 oil, and get this thing all restrung up so we can get the demo started. Alright, so we got this guitar restrung and set ready to go. I didn't know if I mentioned this guitar still has the locking tuners on it. If you look at the back, We didn't really focus too much on it because there wasn't much to see. Just nice mahogany, nice stain on that. I'm excited to hear what this sounds like. Alright, now that we've heard what this thing sounds like through a quality tube amp and the old reliable SM57 microphone, I got a few thoughts about this guitar. First of all, the playability of it's top notch. There's not a whole lot for me to say when it comes to that. PRS guitars, they're not for everybody. A lot of people like to go out of their way to kind of hate on them, but we're going to address kind of why a little bit later on in this video. I don't want to harp on that in this section. One thing I really loved about this, now, the switching is my first experience with this kind of switching. I've been having guitars that have had the push-pull in order to split the coils, so to speak, on each one of the pickups, but the drawback is, like on the CE24, if you do that in the middle position, both of them are going to be split. One of my favorite tones of this guitar is when it's in the middle position. I have the neck in the full humbucking mode and the bridge in the single coil. It provides me an extra kind of sound that I wouldn't normally be able to get out of a guitar that only has the one push-pull switch, and I love that. But as much as they've gotten right with this guitar, and they got the majority of it right, there are still a few things that could be improved upon. Now, you do get the import electronics, you do get the import bridge. We're going to speak about the bridge first. I got no problems with it. This thing functions fine. It really has a nice tension to it. It stays in tune great. Obviously, I restrung this guitar myself, and I set it up kind of the way I wanted to, broke in the strings well. I had to tune this thing maybe once in that entire 90-minute session when I was recording kind of the demo clips. Not an issue, not something that I feel like is a necessary real upgrade. Would it be an upgrade to go to something like a man-made or the stock OEM PRS one? Yeah, maybe, but I don't feel like it's something that you would really need to do on this. On the other hand, though, when you consider the fact that this guitar nowadays is up to almost $2,000, the fact that it comes with the G&B electronics that an SE comes with, I don't love that. I don't love that, and I do appreciate that this is really well crafted and made in America and to a very high standard, and I love everything about that. But for me, I feel like they should offer this with the 5708s or the 5909s as an option. You don't need to include some of those new low turns, the TCIs that come in the core models. Maybe just even like the ones I mentioned as, you know, the top tier. That should be, in my opinion, the pinnacle of the S2 line. I kind of get why they wouldn't do it. Maybe they wouldn't sell as many core guitars if that was the case, but for my money, that would be really the perfect thing, because these pickups are totally adequate as is. They're actually pretty good as is, but when you're really used to playing high-end pickups, and I play so many Lindy Fralin pickups, the Gibson I have that has the Wildwood spec Alnico 2s. They're incredible. The Fender Custom Shops, all these guitars have just top quality pickups. So when you get a pickup in that isn't quite up to scratch with that, it's the only real kind of deficiency I noticed with this guitar. Like I said, the bridge is fine, the tuners are fine, the nut is cut really well, the stability of the guitar is great. I just wish it came with a little bit better electronics, but can you really complain that much about it? I mean, I'm doing it right now, but it's a small thing to swap out, and if the rest of the guitar is consistently this good, it's an inconvenience, but it is what it is in this market. But my final verdict on this guitar is, I think the biggest strength about the Custom 24 in general is how versatile this guitar is. And that word gets chucked around a lot. Telly's the most versatile guitar, a 335 is the most versatile guitar. You hear these kind of statements thrown around all the time. However, when it comes to playing out live, sometimes you play in cover bands, sometimes you play with an act that covers a wide variety of tones. This thing can do all of it, with the switching, with the vibrato, with the playability, the fact that it's lightweight, the thing stays in tune incredibly well. You factor in the extra switches on top of it. Are the tones pure authentic Gibson? No. Are they pure authentic Fender when you split the coils? No. And I think that's part of the reason why PRS gets a lot of crap from some of the older people that have been around a long time and maybe not still have accepted that this is a serious player in this market, whether they like it or not. If you buy a PRS wanting a Gibson sound, you bought the wrong guitar. If you buy a PRS wanting a Fender sound, you bought the wrong guitar. You should buy one of these because it's an excellent, reliable tool that can cover so many bases, is made to an extremely high standard. This thing really is a breath of fresh air to play, and I feel like it does sit in pretty well with my other instruments, and it definitely has its own purpose. This and the 77 X Robato, they are going to be the two guitars that I consistently gig with coming up on this big old summer season, and I'm excited to be sharing a lot of that with you. But that's not what today's video is about. So I definitely would recommend one of these guitars. If you're savvy, you want to shop around used, you can get one of the regular S2 Custom 24s, the ones that have just the blade, the three-way blade switching on it, and the push-pull pots. Still $1,000, $1,100 if you're really patient, you know where to look for those guys. Even Guitar Center's used section, sometimes you can find some pretty decent deals there when it comes to these kinds of guitars. But brand new, $1,950 I think is the going rate. It's a lot of money, but you're getting a lot of guitar, even if the electronics aren't, you know, the top tier. But then again, this is half the price of a core that has those. So I love it. I can't say enough good things about it. Love the neck. Yeah, it's just, this is a good one. This is a really good one. If you like what I'm doing on this channel, please leave me a like. If you made it this far into the video, leave me a comment. Even if you're somebody that hates PRS guitars, I had a long kind of thread with somebody who was dying to convince me that they were bad, but I mean, it is what it is. Not every guitar brand is for everybody, apparently, but this one seems to get some of the highest amounts of vitriol when compared to the others. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow for another guitar-related video. Take it easy, everybody.